Yeah, boy, it's April 7th, and it's episode 104, and this is the Fantasy Football Auctioneer. I'm your host, Uncle Buckets. The Fantasy Football Auctioneer is the official podcast of the fantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasyfootballauctioneer, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Fantasy Auction. We've got a great show for you tonight. Tonight we're going to take an early look at running backs. We're going to look at moves, signings, and rankings of all things running back. But of course, our experts, they're always here. He's been working tirelessly the last couple of days to update his rankings. I know Blister's not a running back, but Eli at quarterback 6?
Yeah, that's a lot of love for Eli. Might be a little bit greasy there, but you know, with Odell Beckham being the stud he is, and potentially if Victor Cruz comes back, I just think that if they got Vereen there, he could get some nice garbage dump-offs to Vereen. I think that those guys can pull him up the charts. I think he finished at, 9th last year? Something like that. He was a top 10 quarterback last year, and Odell didn't come on till partway into the season. So, yeah, I think he has that ability.
And is it a special day for you today, Blister?
Oh, it's almost over. Yeah, it wasn't that exciting.
I purposely let it kind of hang all day today because I thought we'd bring it up on the pod. Everybody, it's Mr. Blister's birthday today. He's 37 years old.
Yeah.
I thought
39 and holding.
39 and holding. Anyways, feel free to tweet at him some birthday wishes. I was going to sing, but I think I'll just drop it as a soundbite or something. Maybe a little Marilyn Monroe. That might be appropriate, right?
Yeah, sounds
Happy
good.
birthday, Mr. President.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Big hockey draft coming up.
That's right.
All
right,
you're always a president.
That's right, presidents for life. And he's making house calls to make trades in fantasy hockey. Slim, did the house call work?
Well, I didn't make it. My partner did.
Your franchise.
Actually, I was surprised. No, that's all right. I was surprised as everyone else when I got a knock on my patio door on my deck, and I get a sheet slapped in my face, a trade sheet. And I was like, oh, okay. But then a tweet ensued with the picture of him in his driveway. But no, it worked, I guess, in the sense that I got a trade to go through. So I guess it was a success.
All's fair in fantasy sports. I mean, it took in our dynasty 3 guys to travel to the Central America, shall we say, to get some trades finally moving. So, I mean, hey, you do what you got to do. You bring a case of beer, you make a house
free
call.
Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, an iPad, and no kids, I guess, and
sitting at the pool
make some
bar,
trades.
And that's right.
Hey,
so
whatever
all
works.
good.
Yeah, you're right.
That's where I want to be making some trades next year. I gotta do a little more work than just that, though. Anyways, guys, if you're ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. So, like I said before, we're going to break down the running back position. We're going to take a look at the moves and the signings and whatnot from so far this offseason in 2015. So in episode 103, guys, we took a look at the DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews move. Blister, you just want to give a quick little recap as to what you thought about those two moving to the Eagles. And if you want more detail, by all means, head over to iTunes, download episode 103, because on the weekend we went through it in pretty good detail. Blister?
Yeah. Well, last year the Eagles ran the ball 418 times. DeMarco himself, that was as a team. DeMarco ran it 393 times in Dallas. So one concern, he's leaving that Studley offensive line that he ran behind, that I think a lot of us could run behind. But on the other note, the Eagles run a pretty high-tempo offense. They run a lot of offensive plays, and DeMarco can catch passes out of the backfield too. Last year he had, what did he have, 64 targets, 57 catches. So, he'll put up fantasy points for you there too. Will he get the same amount of rushing yards? Probably not. Overall yards, he could be close if he stays healthy all year, and I think that's always some people's concern. And I see him ranked in a lot of rankings kind of low for the number one rusher in the league last year. He was your fantasy stud at running back, and it kind of surprises me. I still, a lot of things will happen between now and your auction date, but I'm sure DeMarco is going to push you upwards of $50 because, yes, he's lost that. Like I said, he's lost that line, but he's gone to a pretty fast offense. Ryan Matthews, he's banged up as much as anybody, and he only had 75 carries last year. I mean, sparingly, he could get you. He might be flex play at best at times. I don't know how much he will be involved. I mean, he'll be involved, but I don't have the confidence in him. I'd still take DeMarco on my team. I wouldn't last year, but I would now, unfortunately. But you know what, Ryan Matthews, I don't know. I'd rather see somebody else buy him.
He's got faith now, hey Slim?
Yeah.
He's no faith in Monty Ball though this year, I bet.
Oh, Monty.
Wow.
Full Monty.
No. Probably not.
Jerk.
Yeah. All right.
He hurt my feelings.
Slim, any other comments on the DeMarco Ryan Matthews move to the Eagles?
No, Blister summed it up pretty good. I mean, DeMarco, he's a good running back, and he's going to a good situation. He's leaving a really good one too, but I think that he shouldn't miss too many beats there. And Ryan Matthews is Ryan Matthews. I don't think anybody expects 16 games out of him, like Blister said.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that it's going to be tough for me to make any sort of even mildly aggressive bids on him in an auction, because I'm kind of like Blister. I'd like to see somebody else roster him out of a draft.
I agree. All right. So anyways, if you want some more information on what more details on the move to the Eagles, take a look at episode 103. Head on over to iTunes. I mean, you might as well subscribe, and then you'll just get all the juicy goodness as it comes in week by week. We're hoping to stay on track now and run the next few Tuesdays as we normally do in season. We're looking to break down running backs this week and take a look at different positional situations up until the NFL draft. So let's just keep moving through some of these guys. Let's take a look at Justin Forsett next. He re-signed with the Baltimore Ravens, a 3-year, $9 million signing for the 30-year-old Justin Forsett. Slim, what do you think this does for Forsett as far as next year's auction goes?
I think right now it's awesome for him. Trestman's coming in there, Forsett. He can be involved in the passing game. He caught 44 passes last year. There's no reason why he can't do better than that this year. He was the 8th leading running back as far as fantasy points go in PPR leagues. So to me, he's pretty much there's no reason why he can't be an RB1 again this year. The only thing to caution is if you're drafting before the actual NFL draft would be to maybe tread lightly, because there are rumors that Baltimore could spend a first day, who knows, maybe a first day pick, but definitely a second day pick on a running back, and this class we know is deep at running back, so there's a chance that a talented runner could find its way in Baltimore, and then who knows what that does to Forsett's value. We'll have to wait and see a little bit, but for the time being, I think you have to love the re-signing, and expect numbers like you got last year from him.
Listener, it looks like according to your rankings on the website, that's thefantasyfootballauction.com/player-rankings, that you just recently updated. You're liking Justin Forsett right now as that low-end running back one. Got him valued somewhere around that $35 mark. I mean, understandably that there's not a whole lot of mocks to determine that by, but as your 12th ranked running back, talk to us a little bit about Justin Forsett.
Yeah, I think I'd like Forsett. Like Slim said, he's in a good situation there, provided they don't go out and draft a big name running back this year. because they jumped Bernard Pierce to let him go. He was doing nothing anyways. They got Lorenzo Taliaferro there. He'll cut into the workload a bit, but even though he's 30, he's got very little tread on his tires. I think he's under around 600 carries in his career. Like, he was kind of a journeyman, never really caught on, and this was the best season he had. So he's a 30, but he's a young 30. He's kind of like a Fred Jackson who continues to put up numbers because he didn't have a lot of tread on his tires. So I think he could be a good bargain as your RB1. Like, he'll get those stats, and I mean, I wouldn't, as long as they don't go and draft somebody, I would expect him actually probably to finish a little bit better than what I have him ranked right now. So I think he's a guy to kind of keep an eye on over the summer, and especially once that NFL draft unfolds, then you'll really, you could be in for a good deal there.
So, Slim, I'm going to ask you about where you slot him in a little name game, because Blister already has his rankings up, so it's easy for me and for him and for everybody to know who he'd pick. So, Slim, Justin Forsett or Mark Ingram?
That's close. I will say for right now, Forsett, but I have a feeling in a couple months I'll say Ingram. But for right now, Forsett.
Forsett or Joik Bell?
Forsett.
Forsett or Trey Mason?
I'll say Forsett.
Okay, so you're up there kind of where Blister is too if we're looking. I'm looking at the Fantasy Pros consensus rankings. So right now, consensus-wise, they have him at 17, but already just from you talking, you're moving him up above 15 into that 14, 13 range roughly. High-end RB2, low-end RB1?
Yeah, like I think low-end RB2 or RB1, yeah, high-end RB2. I mean, we'll maybe get into this pod, I don't know, but I mean, I look at the running backs this year and, looking back to kind of part of the draft kit from last year, I kind of was flipping through it and remembering kind of how we charted the values of where receivers, running backs, tight ends, how much we spent, and what they ended up producing at the end of the season. And there was kind of a trend that we saw, and it's very limited sample size because we've only been doing this so far for 1 year, but we'll see what happens this year when we plot it. But there was, those top couple tiers of running backs where you got, your top 6 or so. They seem, they've produced fairly consistently, even, and you spent big money on them. But then there was about the next 6 guys, so from about 7 to 12, where they really underproduced based on where they were drafted, and you saw that, your tier 4 and 5 running backs produced for sure the same rate as them, and oftentimes a lot better, and you got them for a lot cheaper. And I look at the names on this list, guys like Arian Foster, C.J. Anderson, Alfred Morris, Carlos Hyde, guys in that area where there's definitely potential for them to, be top 5 guys. But I also think there's a lot of guys in that area, Carlos Hyde comes to mind. We don't know what you're going to get there. Alfred Morris, he's not a real PPR threat. They could very well finish, well below the spot where you would have them or would be drafting them. So again, I feel like there's this trend this year. Trey Mason gets into that spot, and now you're getting Justin Forsett in there, and if you're drafting him and they bring a rookie in, I mean, who knows? By the end of the season, we saw it in St. Louis last year with Mason. We saw it a little bit in Cincy with Jeremy Hill. Those guys emerge halfway through the year, and then all of a sudden they're pushing somebody to the back burner. And I don't know. I'm leery of running backs in that, in that tier area, I guess I would say. I'm thinking if you want to spend, you almost want to go and get an elite guy and then wait until, take some of these guys from this low end RB2 group. Somebody like Gio Bernard even, or Gore, or Joik Bell, and try and piece a couple of those guys together as an RB2 every week and save yourself a little bit of money and maybe save yourself some heartache.
Yeah, well, either spend 50 plus or spend 20 plus, right? That's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah, I mean, and let's face it. I mean, you might be able to get somebody like Gio Bernard or even somebody like Isaiah Crowell. Yeah, there might be weeks where he might not play because of the stupidity of the Cleveland Browns coaching staff. But I mean, when he does play, there's a good chance he'll produce fairly well, and there's chances where he can have a couple really big games for you, even though that offense looks pretty messy. But I mean, you don't necessarily need a good quarterback to have an effective fantasy running back.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that over the years. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to go spend $50+ on Eddie Lacy and don't feel like spending another 40 on, C.J. Anderson, then maybe wait and spend 15 or even less maybe on a couple guys, and hopefully you can piece together that same production.
Okay. All right. Well, as we move on, we're going to see these situations change and with the draft, and maybe there's still more moves and trades. So, but yeah, for now, I can see that as a couple of different auction scenarios.
And that's the thing, right? This position's going to change probably more than any other. Running backs, it's such a volatile position. Injuries will happen. Rookies are going to come in. We know there's a lot of them that are going to be drafted, and things are going to change dramatically here. Yeah,
for sure. Well, speaking of changes, Blister, let's move on to the next one. Say goodbye, CJ Spiller, and say hello to Rex Ryan, Greg Roman, and more importantly, LaShawn Shady McCoy to the Buffalo Bills, Blister. Talk to us a little bit about what you think of Shady now, a Buffalo Bill.
Well, I think that he should be in line for a good outing. I think he's going to get used a little bit more. I think Rex Ryan will literally ride this guy as much as he can, because Rex is strikes me as kind of an egotistical kind of guy that would like to, after a good foot rub, would like to, work his horses. I mean, he wants to win. He wants to do well, and I think that his chance is going to be giving LaShawn McCoy the ball. Who knows what he's got at quarterback, too, so it's going to be a situation where he's going to have to get the ball out of his quarterback's hands fairly quickly. They're kind of unproven. They got EJ Castle. They don't got that guy that you're too confident in. So I think it's a good thing. I mean, Buffalo, they only ran the ball last year 366 times, which I think will change now with Rex Ryan at the helm. LaShawn himself carried it 315 times last year, added on 29 catches. I think, he's going to be a guy that I think he's going to have a better year than he did last year. They got a great defense in Buffalo as well, so I think he could get some good field position. I think he's going to be in line for, what did he have last year? 5 rushing touchdowns. I say he doubles that and then some. Maybe 12, 14 this year. So I think his numbers are going to be pretty impressive.
So, Slim, what do you think of that move, and then what Fred Jackson might look like now that Shady's there? I mean, are you just selling F Jacks right off now, or?
I don't think you can ever sell him right. I still think he's got a role. I just don't know what that's going to be per se. I mean, Rex Ryan, there was a report a few days ago that said that McCoy is going to get quite a bit of third down work, where we maybe thought that would have been Fred Jackson's role. We'll see how that goes. I agree with Blister. I think there's going to be a lot of rushing opportunities. So I think that Fred Jackson's still going to get his fair share of touches. Like Blister said, they don't have a quarterback. I can't see them trying to rely or hoping to rely on the passing game. So they could cycle in Fred Jackson for 10 carries a game, and I mean, McCoy is always one injury away from Fred Jackson becoming relevant, and I mean, we'll see what they do on the goal line. Fred Jackson could be the guy there too. I still think he does have value, even though he is 34 years old or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm a little the move was surprising. I mean, I don't think anybody thought this was ever going to happen, and it seemed to happen pretty damn quick. And you know, you don't see big running backs get traded very often like this, and it's a good pickup for Buffalo, and hopefully, you know, Rex Ryan can get the best out of this this deal here.
So Blister, you have sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think if Fred Jackson is going to get work, it's going to have to be some carries. Greg Roman's off as the offensive coordinator only threw the ball 50 times roughly each year to the running back. So it's not a lot of receptions going to be in line, but they'll hand it off 400 times. So I think that LaShawn will get he'll break the 300 carries, no doubt. So Fred might, you know, he might not be brought in to make those catches on third down. I just don't see them throwing it too much to them. Just if, you know, history repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just going to say, so you have Shady ranked at the RB10 right now, and he's in a tier, looks like, with Jeremy Hill, Arian Foster. It looks kind of like that's the tier you have him slotted at. Talk to us about why you think he's, you know, the 10th best running back right now.
Well, I'm not sure that he's the 10th best. I just think that, you know, he had a little bit of a... Last year he finished as a 12th ranked running back. I think he could definitely improve on that. He could be a top 5, but again, it's going to come down to probably some of the guys ahead of him. It's going to come down to the health. You know, there's guys ahead of him like Arian Foster I have right now, and DeMarco and guys like that they could be injury prone. I mean, he could beat them out just by staying healthier than them, obviously. But Jeremy Hill, C.J. Anderson, Eddie Lacy, and Le'Veon Bell, pretty young legs ahead of him. I think that they're in offenses that should be maybe more productive. Like I said before, it's not like he's going to an offense that is solid throughout. Like they have Sammy Watkins on the wideout, but the guy that's going to get the ball every game, every snap, that's going to be a big question mark. So yeah. I don't know. I just see that offense sputtering a little bit at times. Maybe that's why I have him a little bit lower. Go ahead.
I was just said Matt Castle. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think he'll do it for them.
Ask our friends in Minneapolis. So, Slim, let's just take a look at a little name game with Shady. We won't do this with everybody, but obviously he's a big name guy. Right now I'm looking over at Fantasy Pros. Let's take a look at some guys that are around him. Shady or Marshawn?
Marshawn.
Shady or AP?
Shady.
Shady or DeMarco?
DeMarco.
Shady or Forte?
Ooh, this is where I got them really tight. I'm gonna say Forte.
Okay, so you're a little bit higher on him, I think, than what Blister has him ranked right now.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think I haven't really formally done ranking, but I know when I look at these guys, I have them sitting around 6 or 7. Right now. I mean, if AP, like, something happens there, then all of a sudden he's a guy who could kick McCoy down again a little bit, potentially. But right now, I know I'm not putting AP in the top 10 because I really don't think – I have a feeling he's not going to play unless he decides he wants to play for Minnesota, because I don't see why Minnesota would move him. I think they're prepared to play hardball, and so he's going to have to change his attitude if he wants to play this year, and it's only going to be one spot probably. But so yeah, I got him. You know, the touchdown numbers kind of worry me. I don't know if he gets to double digits, and I think that's probably what he needs to do to start passing a lot of these guys. And I agree with Blister. I'm not sold yet on this Bills offense. I know they made some moves, you know, with Percy Harvin and Charles Clay, but we've seen this before and it not necessarily work out. And, like, you know, we all know they don't have a quarterback that anyone feels comfortable with, and that's going to be, I don't care how many times they run the ball, you need somebody there that can at least be serviceable in the passing game to keep a defense honest and not stack the box completely. So, you know, they've got the weapons on the outside to do that if someone can get them the ball. I mean, with Watkins, and hopefully Harvin stays healthy and can contribute, and, you know, Robert Woods. But we're going to have to wait and see a little bit. And they can give it to Shady 400 times, but that doesn't mean they're going to get enough first downs to move the ball to punch it in on the goal line all the time. But we'll see. I mean, I hope that he can get to double digits, but I think he's going to have his work cut out for them, at least right now until we get a chance to see this offense in action a little bit.
All right. So we're going to move on to somebody who in the last couple of years hasn't even hit double digits as far as rushing touchdowns go. Let's take a look at the big signing by the Cowboys. They get rid of DeMarco and they bring in Run DMC. Now, according to some guys in our Dynasty League, or one guy in particular, he's worth a high second rookie pick right now because, he's the man in Dallas. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think consensus would say that the Cowboys are looking maybe to draft a running back. But anyways, we'll wait and see how that all pans out. Blister, talk to us about Run DMC in Dallas quickly.
Well, hopefully you don't draft anytime soon because the Cowboys could easily cut him free by the end of the summer. They only give him a $200,000 signing bonus, so he can be released quite easily. So they could definitely be looking to draft someone. You got to be fairly excited about who does play for Dallas, though. Whoever starting running back is, I mean, they rushed the ball a lot last year, 473 rushing attempts. So if they got a guy in there behind that old line, they should have a chance to be productive. So I'm not totally convinced right now that it'll be Darren McFadden. Unfortunately, Joseph Randall, I mean, his off-field problems aren't great, but at this point in time, you got to believe it's one of those two. Lance Dunbar, you never know. He could do some third down work, but I think right now it's a wait and see. If you're drafting right now, I guess you can take a flyer on him and hope it works out, but I would not be shocked at all if he was their number 3 back, number 2 back, or something by the time opening kickoff.
All right, sounds fair. Slim, quickly, what do you think about Darren McFadden at the Cowboys?
Talk him up to everybody in your pool, and you just sit back and hopefully they buy him, because there is zero chance that Dallas does not draft a running back high in this draft. I can't see it happening, and especially now. I mean, one of the biggest needs was pass rush, and there was a legit chance that they spent their first-round pick on a pass rusher. Well, they got Greg Hardy now, and if they think that he can be anything close to what he was before he had all his problems here, you've got him on one side of the ball. They drafted DeMarcus Lawrence to bring the heat on the other side of the ball. They might just say, you know what, if Todd Gurley is sitting there when they pick, in the mid to late mid of the first round, he could be a Dallas Cowboy. It would not shock me if they spent a first-round pick on Gurley or Gordon, which would be great for whoever goes there, like Blister said. But, I mean, I can't see how they don't draft a running back in day 1 or day 2 of this draft, with there being so many quality running backs out there. And, I mean, like Blister said, there's nothing keeping McFadden here. They can cut him, whenever they want to for virtually nothing. He's there for a tryout, really. And if they bring in a rookie or two or somebody else, I mean, maybe Stephen Ridley gets signed there once teams start feeling more comfortable with how his knees healing. There's no role for McFadden there, I don't think. But so yeah, I'm hoping people draft him. Because I just think that, there's going to be a good young running back coming to Dallas. I mean, Jerry Jones won't be able to help himself. He almost took Manziel last year, for Christ's sake, and they had a quarterback, and now they don't have a running back, and there is a legit chance that a stud running back is going to be sitting on the board when they pick. So I don't know if Jerry Jones will be able to resist that urge to take him.
Well, and, many say Gurley's that generational back, too, right, that you see every few years, so... if not now, then when?
They've wanted AP rumored for how long, and this is, the closest thing that we've seen to AP since he came out, according to many scouts. So, Jerry loves the splash play, so this could very well be it.
So Blister, you have McFadden down at the low end running back 3, so you have him ranked as the 36th overall running back right now, worth around $10. I'm only assuming that you think that that's if at least he's the RB2 at Dallas.
Well, yeah, that's a very worst case scenario. That'll change as the draft unfolds and training camps unfold. I can only imagine him sliding down the board. So I give him a benefit of some hope right now.
Hope.
Okay. Hope. So you're saying there's a chance, which is funny. There's a little guy that I've been seeing lots around hockey, Blister. He's got bright red hair, kind of a perma Kool-Aid. Yeah. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Without naming names. Well, he can quote Dumb and Dumber. I mean, to a T. To an absolute T. I said to him the other day, I said, pull over. He said, no, it's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing. Like that. At the dinner table, he blurred, so, well, suck me sideways. And you can just imagine this kid saying those words. So I was testing him on all types of little things. I'm like cripes, and he's talking about the little old lady, and it was unbelievable. It was almost like a savant, like a Rain Man-ish ability to quote Dumb and Dumber. Anyways,
excellent.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Let's take a look. I mean, we don't have to go through a bunch of name game because we all really have an inkling that Run DMC may not even be there, so it's no sense trying to play that game. Here's a guy we might play a game with, though, Blister. I know the Colts are going to look to play a lot with him, is Frank Gore. So Frank Gore moves from San Francisco to Indianapolis, signs a pretty good deal at 3-year, $12 million. It looks like the Colts are ready to take a run at this. Blister, take a run at Frank Gore. What do you think of the move?
I think it's kind of interesting. You know, Frank is getting older, but he's going to be in a much more productive offense, I think. So I think he's going to have an opportunity to get some goal line work. You know, he's another guy that he's not going to cost you a lot of money anymore either. You know, so I don't know. It's kind of it could be a bit messy there. Like he might not be on the field for all 3 downs. It's hard to say depending on if Ballard comes back or depending on Tipton, and depends on Boom Heron. There's a lot of question marks to see who's going to cut into the workload. But I mean, he's probably going to, at this point, I'm guessing, would get the chance to be their lead back. And like I said, in that offense, I mean, we saw a lot of guys do quite well in that offense. That when they played, Matt Bradshaw was having a good year before he got hurt. Boom Heron continued to have a pretty good year because of the catching the ball and everything like that. So last year, Frankie had 11 catches in San Fran, but he's got Andrew Luck at quarterback. I mean, I could imagine that going up. So I think it's interesting because like that offense is pretty good. It's only gotten better. They've added Andre Johnson. I mean, they added a couple old pieces, but there's some veteran pieces that still have a bit of gas left in the tank, I believe, especially in this offense. You wouldn't have been excited at all about Frank being in San Fran another year with a younger Carlos Hyde, and that offense kind of sputtered. But this is a little more intriguing, and I think he's probably worth $20.
All right. So, Slim, what about you? You know Frank Gore well. What do you think of his fit in Indianapolis? Slim?
But, I mean, I think, well, he finished as the 21st running back in PPR last year, and, you know, we know the troubles they had with that offense. And to Blister's point, before Harbaugh and company came to town, just to throw some numbers out there. So from 2006 to 2010, he had 61 catches, 53, 43, 52, and 46. The guy can catch the ball.
Yeah.
He's probably maybe the best pass blocking running back in the NFL. You put those two things together, I don't see how he cannot. I mean, sure, he's going to be spelled. He's 32 years old. There's going to be when the season starts. But he can catch the ball probably as well as anyone on the team, and he's probably the best blocker that they have on that team. I will say he is the best blocker. When you have an offensive line where Andrew Luck faces pressure, I would think that this guy's going to become Andrew Luck's best friend really quick because he can pick up blitzes. He'll save his life probably once or twice a game. So I think he'll be on the field. He's a real candidate to be on the field all 3 downs. Yeah, he'll get spelled because, like I said, he's old. But he goes to a better offense, like Blister said. He's a 3-down back. And I think just for the offense, the better offense that he's going to alone, I mean, he should have more touchdown opportunities. He should definitely have more reception opportunities. So I don't see how his production doesn't go up from last year where he was the 21st running back. I really think this guy is a high-end RB2 this year. So, I mean, right now, to me, he's a value. That might very well change. But I think right now you could probably get this guy for very cheap. We've seen it with his ADP. It's starting to climb. I had it clicked here before. What did it go to? So just in the – yeah, he went from a 9th-round pick to now he's getting picked around the 5th round in draft. So it's gone up 4 rounds since he signed. But, I mean – if you're drafting right away, I think he's a steal, and you know I think he can be a sneaky guy that you can sneak in as an RB2 for the majority of your season.
So Blister, you have him slotted right now. I mean, it's a pretty big tier there at that low end RB2 with the likes of Jerick McKinnon, maybe some Terrence West in there, Mark Ingram. Talk to us why you think that $15 range right now is where Gore could be going.
Well, I look at these players and I think I could easily have him up a few more slots. Jerick McKinnon obviously going to be a big question mark about if AP is back, and I mean Asiata last year ended up as a top, I think, on RB1 with his numbers, so I think they're not going to just disregard him altogether. You could also look at Alpha Morris. I think he's going to continue to decline because he doesn't catch the ball, and he didn't have that impressive a season last year, 17th. Andre Williams, too, I think I got him a little bit too high at this point because, I think right off the bat I could flip-flop Frank Gore and Andre Williams for sure, because I think we're going to probably talk about that next, but the situation in New York Giants is pretty muddled right now with Vereen, Williams, and Jennings. So that's probably, when I tweak this again, that's probably what will happen. I think I'll flip-flop Andre and Frank. That would put him in at the 19 spot. And then, again, I could maybe even tweak it a little bit more because again, with Ellington, I think his name and his youth might garner more money in the auction, but I still don't have a lot of confidence in him holding up. So that could even put him up as high as 16 right now. And as things unfold, Isaiah Crowell is another guy that, he has off-field issues. I mean, nothing would shock me between now and training camp to hear his name in the papers for doing something wrong. So, and again, Terrence West was drafted there ahead of him. I think there's still a situation where both of them are pretty good and they could cut into each other's workload. And like Slim alluded to earlier, you don't know what the heck's going on in Cleveland because they make some stupid decisions and they flip-flop around and pull a guy in and out all the time. Yeah, so it's hard to say. So I mean, he could easily, just based on what Slim has said here and what we know what the situation is, move up 4, 5, 6 spots probably.
It sounds like you just talked yourself right into it.
Well, it's easy to do when you look at some of these numbers, and it every week changes. Look changes, but I think definitely could move him around a bit right now.
So Slim, quick name game: Frank Gore, Andre Ellington.
I'm going to say Gore because I think Ellington's not. They're bringing somebody in at some point. Yeah. He's going to lose half his job. Same thing. I'll take Gore for now.
Jonathan Stewart.
Well, right now I'll take I'll take Stewart, but they're probably going to bring someone in too. But
Fantasy Pros have Frank Gore right now at 24, and we just were talking up in those 19 to 20 range. So it's kind of where you slot comparative to the Fantasy Pros. So let's move on to the next one. Let's take a look, as Blister alluded to earlier, Shane Vereen at the New York Giants. He signs a 3-year, $12.4 million contract, and I'm sure Blister's going to go through his numbers. You love the targets and the catches. It's the rushing is something going to happen with him carrying the football, Blister, at the Giants.
Yeah, I can't see him getting any more carries. Last year, 96 carries, 391 yards, averaged just over 4 yards a carry, but he had 51 catches on 75 targets. I just think the whole thing is a bit muddled maybe for now. We know Ben McAdoo last year said he wanted Eli's completion rate to be like 70% or something. So in order for him to do that, it had to have a lot of these dump offs and stuff like that. But they still didn't throw it to the running backs that much. 62 completions to the running backs last year. No receiving touchdowns to the running backs last year. So I think if with Jennings healthy, I think I wrote this somewhere too, maybe even in my rankings. Coughlin's an old school guy. He's going to give his old guys the first crack, no doubt about it. I think as three of those guys go into camp healthy, Jennings will come out as their RB1. Williams probably will slide down below even Vereen by the time things unfold. But just because they have the three of them there, I think it's not going to be much. Well, it won't be any clearer than it was in New England. It'll be kind of a mess. I mean, he's good for 800 yards, maybe 5 touchdowns, but it's one of those games where you can't really predict. You maybe run him as a flex here or there. Like you can't bank on him being an RB1, RB2, RB3 is going to be questionable. So I don't know. It's too bad because he's got some talent, but you're not gonna. My gut is you're not gonna really know when it's gonna get its chance to be showcased.
Right. What about you, Slim? What do you think of Vereen in New York?
Well, I mean, if we've got used to seeing a mess with him involved in it when he was in New England, and he kind of went to another mess. I think, honestly, though, what this does is it hurts the value of Jennings and Andre Williams a lot more than it hurts Vereen's value, though, honestly, because, I mean, Vereen kind of, to me, has a skill set that's the most unique of those other two guys. So if they want to use Vereen in passing situations, that means that they're going to have to use Jennings and Williams, and those two will kind of steal carries from each other, more or less. And I see Vereen being used more on third downs and things like that. I mean, Andre Williams should never be in the field for third downs because the guy can't catch. He just flat out can't catch. So that eliminates him right away to first and second down duty, where Jennings is predominantly going to be used more. So that's why I feel like they're going to kind of take shots at each other all the time here and kind of leave Vereen as the lone third down guy. I mean, Jennings could be used out there once in a while too, but I think Vereen's skills obviously suit him the best for that role. Now, value-wise, I'm not sure what his value is going to be like right now. I have a feeling that you're going to get that name appeal still, which will drive his price up, and which is unfortunate because, I mean, I'll say this. Last year I probably was higher on Vereen than just about anybody, and he was a disappointment. And I'm hoping that he would be a value this year with this signing, where he would carve out a little niche there, and be able to be a productive. I mean, I should have prefaced this by saying in non-PPR leagues, there's no point in even wasting a spot on him. Like he is totally strictly for PPR leagues, but I feel like in a PPR league, if you play your cards right and seeing what happens to his value here, you might be able to get him for. I'm hoping for $5, $6, $7 maybe if you're lucky, and that might be a stretch. But if you can get him for that, I wouldn't mind taking him as a third or fourth running back and just hoping that the dude catches 5 balls a week and all of a sudden maybe he's a serviceable flex play or bye week filler for me.
Flex or bye week. All right, let's move on to a couple of interesting names, I guess, in New Orleans. Blister, let's take a look at Mark Ingram. Let's take a look at both guys here. Mark Ingram, who re-signed for pretty big contract. I mean, all things considered, at 4 years, $16 million, and then they also bring in CJ Spiller out of Buffalo, who signs a bigger contract at a 4-year, $18 million. So what the heck's going on in the backfield here? I mean, I don't know. They brought in the center. right, with the Jimmy Graham trade. So they got Unger in there now
Yeah.
too. Are they just going to pound the rock?
Well, I think it's looking that way. I mean, they lost a huge target, monster in Jimmy Graham. They get rid of Kenny Steels. Pierre Thomas is gone. Tavares Cadet is gone. So now they got Mark Ingram and C.J. Spiller and Kyrie Robinson in the backfield, and I would imagine Ingram and Spiller are going to see a lot of work. Last year, 369 runs, 132 completions to the backfield. I would expect the carries this year to top 400. Maybe 4.5. So there's going to be plenty of work to go around and plenty of catches. I think because Jimmy Graham's not there, Kenny Steele's isn't there. After Cooks, I mean, they have the aging Colston and Nick Toon. Like it's going to be tough to. I think your best players are going to be your two guys out of the backfield, really. So I think they could both be serviceable. I mean, they might cut into each other's workload where neither of them is an RB1, but they could both potentially be RB2. Could be great. CJ Spiller could be a great PPR option especially if he is kind of the old Darren Sproles role. Like everyone's talking about that, but I mean, he can catch, and he could, even if he is getting 10, 12 catches a game, and you throw another 10 carries in there, he's put up some solid numbers. Obviously, anybody would with 10 or 12 catches a game, but they could easily do that this year. So I think it will be a lot of backfield coming at you, and so. Often the New Orleans Saints backfield is always a mess because they have 3 or 4 or 5 different guys, and on top of that, they had Jimmy Graham and everything like that. But they got a lot of holes there that hopefully Ingram and a healthy Spiller can fill. So might be guys to target. They're not going to cost you a ton either.
So Slim, Fantasy Pros, the consensus on Mark Ingram is that they have him, that kind of solid RB2 right now. They have him ranked overall at 16. What do you think of Mark Ingram at 16? What do you think of him this year with the Saints?
Love him in that spot. To me, he's one of those guys now you're getting into that group that can really outproduce their auction value. To me, like Blister said, this guy could have the opportunities that make him a legitimate RB1. If he can get some touchdowns and get 250, 300 carries or even more than that, then I don't see why he can't be an RB1. And I'll admit, I'm coming around on him. At first, they made this Spiller move, and I thought, what the heck? Why? Are they doing that? And then they go and get rid of Jimmy Graham, and it kind of makes a little bit more sense here now. They bring in a center in the Jimmy Graham trade, which says to me, like, all right, who trades for a center? That says maybe they want to commit a lot more to the run game. So yeah, I think Ingram can be a nice little sneaky play, at least if he stays in the spot now. And you can get RB1 production out of him. And as far as Spiller goes, I think he's in line for a good year too. I mean, if it's one thing Sean Payton can do, it's he can maximize the talent of receiving running backs. We've seen him do it with Spiller in the past. We see him do it not in 2014, but in 2013 with Pierre Thomas. He had over 70 catches. I mean, if it's one thing we know Spiller can do, he's explosive in space. He's not built to go in between the tackles, and he doesn't have to here. They have the pounder to do that. And with losing Graham, I think you could see a lot of formations where we saw him with Sproles when he was there. They'll line him out they'll motion him out of the backfield into a receiver slot, and you'll have Brandon Cooks maybe in the slot and Colston out wide, and then there's your receivers. I mean, that's how you fill Jimmy Graham's role, is by throwing to the running back maybe a little bit more. So
yeah. No, I home run hit every time and two.
Yeah, for sure. For sure he is. I don't know if it's a stretch. I mean, yeah, he's got some injury history, but I mean, I don't see why Spiller can't have 60 receptions this year in this offense. And so I expect production actually from both these guys, believe it or not. So, like I said, I've come around there. When I first signed them, I kind of thought, they're going to cut into each other's production, but I don't think they will.
Okay. I mean, in Fantasy Pros, just the consensus on him is a high RB3. And yeah, I think upside, especially with in the PPR. I mean, I don't know non-PPR if he's much more of a bye-week filler, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think right now, and I'm comfortable with him as an RB3. I don't know if I'd want to start CJ Spiller as my RB2 quite yet. I think there's some other guys above him that you can get in that spot that you should, something like we just talked about Frank Gore. I mean, I would much rather start Frank Gore right now as my RB2 over, say, CJ Spiller, and that could very well change. I mean, there's injury concerns with Spiller for me. There's also haven't seen him used yet. We're just going purely on speculation. So until we kind of get to see him out in the field a little bit, or hear some more reports, maybe as training camps and OTAs start going through, that might change our opinion a little bit.
All right, Blister, let's move on. You have 34 seconds to talk about D'Angelo Williams moving to Pittsburgh. Go.
Not real excited about it.
Seconds.
Yeah, well, he's old. Play a backup role. The only question mark is if Le'Veon Bell gets any kind of a suspension from his little off-field incident last year. LeGarrette Blount was just handed down a one-game suspension to start the opener for next year, and he was with Le'Veon. So it'll be interesting if that comes because, maybe D'Angelo will have to start 2 games or 4 games. It's hard to say, but I'm not thrilled about D'Angelo for anything. His yards per carry have been going down every year. He's 32. I just can't see him having any significant impact. Uh-oh, we lost our host, Slim.
I was just going to say I agree. I mean, I feel like 3 words. He's Le'Veon Bell handcuffed. That's the only thing you draft him for, is to cover your ass for however many games Le'Veon misses. And I agree. I don't think he has much of anything left in the tank. He's just going to be, out there to spell Le'Veon. And I don't think the Steelers want him for that. I think they want Le'Veon Bell on the field as much as possible. Give that guy 7-8 catches a game and let him pound the rock. And hopefully they never have to see D'Angelo Williams on the field. He's drinking Gatorade and sitting on his helmet the entire game. That would be probably music to Mike Tomlin's ears.
There you go. All right, and let's end with one more running back. Let's take a look at Reggie Bush, Blister. He moved to Slim's 49ers. What do you think of Reggie there with Carlos Hyde and
Well, because it's Slim's 49ers, I want to defer to Slim because I'm sure he's got a lot more of an opinion about Reginald. So go for it, Slim. How happy are you?
I will say I'm not really that happy. I don't know how much Bush has left in the tank. I don't think it's very much. We've seen him get a little banged up in recent years. He just seems to lack some of the explosiveness that he used to have, and that's kind of what he needed. He's going to an offense where one of his best skills is catching the ball and getting the ball in space, and that's not. We've seen it when we talked about Gore. They don't pass the ball to the running back. That's not what they do, and that might change a little bit. Who knows? I mean, they're completely overhauling their coaching staff there, so we might see a little bit of a change in philosophy. I don't think it's going to be that drastic, but where Bush does have value, and I think this will help him, is there's going to be a lot of situations where I think Bush is on the field. For example, when the Niners are losing, which could very well be quite a bit this year. When they're in hurry-up offense, so anytime they're in 2-minute, 3-minute drill, even 4-minute drill probably, he'll be on the field. I think he'll be in the field a lot on third downs because, Carlos Hyde, he's not really known for his pass-catching ability. He's that typical San Francisco 49er, lower your head and smash between the tackles kind of guy. So there should be opportunity for Reggie Bush, even though he's doesn't maybe bring with him the confidence that he's going to be able to withstand a lot of punishment, play a full 16 games. But I think he's going to get actually ample enough opportunity where there is a chance he could produce for you as a PPR running back. Again, he's a guy you avoid in a non-PPR league, I think, but in a PPR league, I think he still actually, believe it or not, does have some value. How much remains to be seen. I wouldn't feel comfortable starting him as an RB2 per se, but I mean, who knows? This Niners defense could be really bad, and he might get a lot of looks.
It won't be that bad if you're the middle linebacker, though, Slim. I mean,
well, it depends. If you're talking about me in Madden, I can doctor myself up pretty good. In real life, there's not enough HGH out there to make me want to strap on the pads and get out there against those freaks.
We were just talking about you playing Madden. Corner was talking about playing video game football against you this weekend.
Yeah, back in the day, I used to put in quite a few hours in Madden, and then yeah, that kind of just didn't happen anymore.
I have it sitting downstairs, but we're playing a lot of NHL right now.
Yeah, it's good. It's playoffs coming up and everything. It's
good. The kid likes it. It's good quality time. I like to rub it in his face when I score. He usually beats me more than I beat him now. Already.
I was gonna say, as long as you're beating him, that's okay.
He's eight. He beat me. Well, we're neck and neck here, but he does put in a lot more hours than I do. So, anyways, okay, guys. So, I mean, that's a pretty in-depth look at the running back moves and signings so far in this 2015. I think it's going to be interesting what happens with this draft, with this deep draft class, and getting a look at where those landing spots are and what that looks like for situational type stuff with some of these medium, middle tier type running backs, and either they're going up or they're going down. And we haven't even seen, like, Blister in his rankings hasn't even looked at the rookie picks yet to see, or the rookies, and slotted them in anywhere. So we'll wait and see what really shakes out with these RBs. It's going to be an interesting position this year in auctions, I think.
Yeah, I don't have the rookies. Well, obviously, got to wait to see where they land. I don't have AP in there yet either, because I don't know what's happening with him. So I just left them right out for now.
Left them right out. So okay. So anyways, we've got some more pods coming up. We're going to try to stay on the Tuesday schedule here. We're going to take a look at position-specific pods here leading up into the NFL draft. We're looking to bring in a wide receiver specialist with the reception perception. He's got some pretty interesting stuff. If you haven't seen that on Twitter yet, he writes for the Football Guys, and spoke to Ryan McDowell today. We're hoping we could have got him on tonight. It was kind of last minute, but looking at some Dynasty early ADP, as he is the mock ADP expert. So maybe we could also mention some rookies kind of pre-draft with him. We're going to have the draft coming up, and then there's going to be Dynasty implications of that and auction implications, and then guys, it's summer and it's hot and heavy.
Yeah,
it is hot.
I hope it gets hot sooner than later. It's still too cold around here.
Was expecting a call from the app developer today. Didn't phone when he was supposed to here. I'm starting to...
Fired.
Yeah, well, anyways, so that the app should be out for before June 1. That's an in-draft auction app, the first of its kind. Right now we're looking at it like an optimizer for your draft. We got the premium site coming up. Head on over to iTunes, give us a subscribe, give us a rating, give us a comment. Feedback is always good. It helps us to move up the rankings and helps us support our cause. Head on over to the website, check out Slim's mock NFL draft, and Blister, as of yesterday, updated his rankings in all positions and has updated auction values on there, as we are the premier site for auction-specific values. So check us out there. So I guess, guys, we'll try to figure out which guest we might be able to have on next week, and that'll determine which position we look at next Tuesday.
Sounds good.
All right,
Yep.
Sounds good to me too. Good work on the running backs, and I think that they're going to be really interesting moving forward. I don't think that we've finished talking about them even close yet. So let's see.
No, we'll be looking at stuff closer. Big week ahead of us here. We got the Masters kicking off this week. About a gazillion Masters pools. That's good. I need that money. And then we got the big NHL playoff draft this Friday, and we have I have a all day long baseball draft Saturday. So
Oh, that baseball draft.
so I'm back. I might need to ride home. It's at the East End Hall again. So
Was it on the weekend?
yeah, don't make plans Saturday night after.
Oh, I'm not. I'm in town Saturday night. I'm at the 3-on-3 tournament this weekend.
Oh, no. Is Carolyn home?
Yeah, she'll be home. She'll give you a ride.
Perfect. I'll just go there.
Just come hang out here. It's all good.
Just tell her.
Well, Blister, I'm gonna work on
put something nice on.
Hot tub. Blister, I'll work on the cheat sheets for the playoff hockey tomorrow night, and we'll get that dialed in, and I'll get my half of my entry fee over to you. I don't know if I can. Can you wait till next payday?
Probably could, yeah.
And Slim, I'm going to have a final soccer roster in for you guys. I'll forward it to both of you guys as well, so you can see what it looks like. It's 27 deep, boys, 27. Ooh. And and for the rest of you, I'll see you when it's springtime in the Rockies. Happy birthday to you.